All right.
Well, hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Compass, where travelers and the paranormal meet at the crossroads. I am your host, Eric Garcia, and today I'm very pleased to introduce this guest. Now, today we're joined by a filmmaker whose love for horror storytelling goes beyond the screen and straight into real-life paranormal exploration. Shedric Carthern, an Atlanta native, has turned personal challenges into a thriving career in independent cinema, crafting chilling narratives that captivate and unnerve audiences. Slap's journey began in Lake Park, Georgia, where he overcame early challenges and pursued higher education at Bethany College and Livingstone College. There, he not only thrived academically, but he also made a mark as a college football player. As the founder of FearOwl Films, Slap's work includes spine-chilling animated horror films like Evil Lurks and Evil Ways and What's Up There with a kind of a UFO theme. But his commitment to the genre doesn't stop at storytelling. His Atlanta's Most Haunted Location series sees him actively investigating haunted sites, bringing audiences along for eerie encounters and unexplained phenomena. Whether through film or real-life paranormal exploration, Slap is always pushing the boundaries of what horror can be, reminding us that it isn't just about scares, it's about storytelling that lingers with you long after the credits roll. Let's dive into the world of horror and the unknown with our guest today, Shedric Slap Carthern. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I'm great, man. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. I am excited and I love
Absolutely.
talking horror, and you have the voice for me for talking horror. So let's get it.
Thank you. I've been told I have a face for radio, so hey,
No, man, that's perfect, man. It's perfect.
So let's how are things in Atlanta? Okay. I mean, I've only been there once. I think it was the airport, so I don't think it really counts. But
Yeah. Man, Atlanta is very busy. It's very congested. And as of now, it's very cold. But we are pushing through it. Pollen season is upon us, and hopefully we'll get some sunshine coming soon.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's jump right into it.
Yes, sir.
Now, your journey from Lake Park, Georgia to become a filmmaker is truly inspiring. Can you share how these experiences influence the themes and characters in your films, especially with this genre, the horror genre?
Absolutely, man. I am from South Georgia. I was born in Atlanta, but my father was actually in radio for many years. Hence why I'm used to hearing voices like yours. You sound a lot like him.
Thank you.
So I grew up, back in the 90s, my dad would create commercials and things of that nature. He would invite me to be on them. So that was kind of like the content creating back in the 90s. Of course, we didn't have the Instagrams and Facebooks and things like that back in those days. So I grew up watching him do it. So that kind of led me to doing what I'm doing today. And as far as the horror, passion for horror goes, man, it has always been something that's driven me. The first horror film I remember seeing was The Exorcist. And The Exorcist absolutely freaking terrified me at 9 years old. Absolutely terrifying. But it was weird because I was terrified, but I wanted more of it. It's kind of like when your mom say, don't touch that stove, you'll burn yourself. And you touch it anyway, So that's it.
Yeah, I was talking to someone else about that film. That movie, 50 years later, still holds up.
Dude, it is absolutely. It still gets me to this day. It still gets me.
I think 50 years from now, it'll still hold up. And they'll be
absolutely.
Like, what the hell? Yeah, amazing movie.
They don't make horror films like they used to back in those days, in particular the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole topic for me. Like I mentioned in the email, cheesy 70s movies. That's dude. I mean, that's my poster in the background.
Dude, I seen it, man.
One of my favorites.
Dude, it's nothing like those horror films from the 70s. I feel like that was the peak of horror. You know what I mean? From that particular era, just the creativity, things of that nature. And those are the films I grew up watching. And my mother made me read a lot, and that reading turned into a passion for writing. So I wrote a lot. So that's what happened.
They just took so many chances with horror back in those days.
Yes.
I mean, there is a movie came out. I don't know if you've seen it. It's considered kind of a classic of the genre. The Devil's Reign came out in the early 70s, and it's got kind of an impressive cast. John Travolta, William Shatner, all these other well-known actors.
Okay.
And the whole movie is about this devil-worshipping cult going after this one guy.
Interesting.
But what's unique about it is they brought in Anton LaVey, the guy who founded the Church of Satan, as a technical advisor for this movie.
Really?
So all the rituals, they have Ernest Borgnine's in the movie. So he's like the main bad guy. So all the rituals they show is pretty much what they do.
Legitimate. What is the name of this
Yes.
film again? I'm going to watch this tonight.
The Devil's Reign with William Shatner and John Travolta, Ernest Borgnine. And I'll put it to you this way. When he started doing that ritual, I just fast forwarded. I didn't want to hear it. I'm like, oh, nope. But yeah, that's a definite one you want to check out.
I 100% will.
So this genre, the horror genre, often explores like deep-seated fears and societal issues. What themes do you aim to address in your work, and what message do you hope audiences take away?
Themes, that's a really good question. You grew up in Atlanta, you grew up in South Georgia, then I relocated to Atlanta, and I'm currently living in Atlanta. There's a lot of, and this is what inspired Evil Lurks and Evil Ways. It's a lot of youngsters out here doing a lot of things they shouldn't be doing. And when I say that, I mean by crimes, robbing people, shooting people, hurting people, things of that nature. And I wanted to kind of show a consequence to those actions. And that's where the Evil Lurks and Evil Ways kind of came about. There's always a consequence for any act that we do, whether it's positive or negative.
Absolutely.
And that kind of drove me to kind of go this direction and kind of do films that kind of show these young people that are a lot younger that may call themselves, oh man, I like movies, or I like horror movies, or like movies in general, whatever the case may be. Show them like, hey, man, we're kind of out here doing some of these things that are in this movie. What if something from the unknown? What if I pop somebody and their spirit comes back to try to take my soul, whatever the case may be? And that's a huge inspiration for a lot of different projects I do. Hence the movie Tales from the Hood. Tales from the Hood was something that touched on that back in the 90s. And I thought it was extremely powerful even when I seen it there with the crazy K scene and everything like that. They went out there, they killed him, and then something, they didn't even realize they were killed by his crew. And then their souls were actually in hell. So it gets deep like that. I like to go deep right there to try to inspire people to be like, hey, do something positive.
I haven't seen Tales from the Hood, but now I'm going to track that down. I think I'm going to watch that tonight. Okay, I'll open a beer and watch Tales from the Hood.
100%.
Yeah, that's almost along the lines of what Bones was, Snoop Dogg's movie.
With Snoop Dogg, correct.
And I watched that with some friends of mine. That wasn't bad at all. We were like,
surprisingly.
I'm like, okay, that was disgusting, but it was cool. Just certain scenes in that movie.
Yeah.
And for as I was telling you before we started recording, it was your feature, Evil Lurks and Evil Ways, that when I was researching and I found you online and I'm looking through some of your stuff and I watched your feature, I mean, it does really have that message. I mean, the lead character is doing what he wants to do, thinking, like you said, there's not going to be any consequences, to your actions. And I mean, I don't think I mentioned it before, but I'm actually a former correctional officer.
Oh.
I worked at the Arizona Department of Corrections for several years.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, and it just and also as a detention officer with a government contractor, and I would just see these people living their life as if there's no consequence. I mean, young guys who should be a grandfather playing with their grandkids are in an orange jumpsuit waiting trial. I'm like, what are you thinking? Why are you
pissing away your life, man? Yep.
Yeah, you understand a young guy because the young guy doesn't know better, but you're 60. So when you
should know better.
and Evil Lurks and Evil Ways really had that undercurrent. And I'm not going to give anything away. I will, for those of you watching this on YouTube, I will provide a link in the video description below to watch Evil Lurks and Evil Ways. I won't give anything away, but like I mentioned before, the scene with the cell phone towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that one scene filled me with dread. I'm like, I need to contact this guy. And that's when I reached out to you. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and the animation is beautiful too. I mean, it sets the mood. It's dark, and that creepy old guy at the beginning. I mean, I'm like, all right, what do we got here?
Yes, shout out to my boy Michael Dante from Goody Boys Music, man. He was my animator for both of my projects, man. He was completely on board. I'm so thankful. As we know, anybody that's in the film world knows that animation projects are very expensive. So we were able to work
time consuming.
Oh my God, time consuming too. He was amazing, man. Helped me out throughout the whole process. I provided him with the script, the cast, voice roles, and everything like that. I had the character designs, and he gave me some flavor. He touched up my original designs to give me the flavor I was looking for the character. So
Yeah,
big shout out to him.
absolutely. Big shout out, man. I mean, his work was spot on. I mean, it was flawless. It was dark. It was moody. It just kind of like it sucked you in, as you're watching it. Like I felt I was sitting in the dark, and it was a well lit room. But yeah, definite shout out to him. Now, okay, so in your opinion, what makes a horror film truly terrifying? How do you incorporate those elements into your work?
All right, what makes a horror film truly terrifying? I like to always reference older the horror films from the 70s and the 80s. I really appreciated the simplicity of horror that they used back in those films. I felt like The Omen. So many films to reference from back in those days. Halloween. It was really simple. It wasn't so jump scary. It wasn't so, someone opens a door, no one's there, then they turn around and gets all loud and someone's standing in front of you. I truly appreciate the simplicity of the older horror films, and that is what has driven me as far as putting that kind of bringing that flavor, bringing that touch back as far as in the films that I'm making. For instance, Slap's Dead Time Stories. I introduced the character with my partner Elena. Shout out to Elena Morales. She is playing this character named Honora. This is my slasher that I've created, and I'm going to throw those elements from the 70s and the 80s into this character. I don't want a jump scary type film. I want a film that that gives you that tingle feeling down your spine, on your back, makes your hairs raise a little bit because you know what's going to happen. You're just waiting to see when it happens. So that's my passion behind it.
Yeah, and especially in those films of the 70s and 80s, it doesn't come to mind at first because you think, you remember the feeling, but when you think about it, the music plays such an integral role in those films. I mean, for my money, Tubular Bells is the theme from The Exorcist.
Correct.
And which is creepy all by itself. But the theme from The Omen scares the hell out of me to this day.
Dude, it's deep, man. It's deep. Yes.
You just dread. I think of that little kid smiling at the end. It's like, no, Brad,
yeah,
stay over there. Yeah, but then you have a powerhouse like John Carpenter. He not only directed Halloween, but he created the theme to it. I mean,
it's awesome, man. A strong score can make a film, and I'm working. I don't want to give it away, but on my next film, I'm working with this really, really talented composer, and that's the first thing I wanted after I wrote my script. I was like, I want a good, strong score that when people see or have that suspense of Honora being there, I want that sound, that song that's going to make people be like, oh, this is the sound. This is Fearless. This is Honora's theme. So
it's bringing you in. It reels you in.
It's sucking you in. Exactly.
It's the editing and then the music in concert with the editing. You're like, okay, what are we running into? What's around that corner?
Correct.
Now, obviously, the horror genre has evolved significantly over the years. How do you? I mean, I can tell right now, and we talked about it. You love the old school films.
Absolutely,
traditional horror films. How do you balance traditional horror elements with innovative storytelling to keep it fresh and engaging, especially for audiences today that have a TikTok long, attention span?
Yeah. I like to kind of blend the two together. And I like to blend the old school with a little bit of the new school. And that was kind of like what I did in Evil Lurks and Evil Ways. I did that for a little bit in What's Up There. I like to blend both worlds and try to draw the attention of the youth with things that may happen in today's society and kind of keep it authentic by bringing that old school element to the film that helps the real true horror head say, hey, this is actually pretty good stuff. I like where we're going with this. I feel that the strongest motivation for that I kind of reference and get my motivation from nowadays in filmmaking is films that A24 Studios puts out. Robert Eggers is a really talented director as well. Oswald Good, Oswald, I always say his last name wrong, but he directed Long Legs and the new Monkey movie that's out now. I feel like these guys are bringing that new element with horror for the past, bringing it into the present, blending it together. So that's kind of my motivation as well for doing that with my films, blending the two together, being creative, making sure my writing is sharp, enough to create something that blends both worlds.
Right on, right on. Yeah, it was moody. I haven't seen What's
Absolutely.
Up There yet. I'm gonna watch What's Up There tonight. So
Oh
then
yeah,
we have,
you're gonna enjoy it. Make sure you put it on the big screen, man. It looks absolutely amazing.
awesome. We'll do that. So as far as the characters in your films, what's your approach to their development to ensure that your audience connects with them, especially in a horror genre?
Yes, character development is something I've really that's my favorite part because I feel like I'm 38 now and I've met so
Ah,
many
you're a
people in
kid.
my life. Yeah, I've met
See all the
I've
gray
met
hair, man? Trust me,
yes.
38.
Hey, you look
You're a
great though,
youngster.
man. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, sir. I like that. I've met so many people in my life, and I always I study people a lot. Maybe that's just the nerd, weird side of me, or whatever the case may be. But I like to study people, and anytime I've met someone in my life, I always find something unique about that particular individual. And the dark side of me is like, what if this person was like this, or what if this person done this, or whatever the case may be. So, for instance, Two Tone, one of my characters in uh, Evil Lurks and Evil Ways, that was based off someone that I used to know who was kind of a hothead type of guy. And Little Sniper, that was actually based on someone I used to know back in the day too, who was more of I hate to say down for whatever type guy, but more so of a guy that's just following his friend, like, hey man, whatever you're down to do, I'm down to do too. So I feel like the character development, you kind of take people from your past that I may have known of, and you kind of put them, you implement them into your world that you're creating, and that's kind of where I start kind of getting my characters together in my head as far as casting and things like that.
So they're more than just fictional characters. These are guys you grew up with.
Yeah, some of them are
That's how
guys like
that's how
yeah,
close you are to them.
yeah. Some of these guys are people that I've known, or personality wise, they may have the personality of someone that I may have known in the past. And I mean, like, this person was a hothead. I kind of know I need to stay
Mhm.
away from this guy. Or this person's laid back, and he's actually a pretty cool guy, but you got to watch out because he kind of follows this guy right here a lot. And then you got this person over here who's just like a guy that's kind of his own standalone type of guy. And then
Uh,
the grandpa in the film. We've all had that old school grandpa that's like no hold bars, just kind of keeps it real.
mhm.
Get your ass in bed, boy. Stuff like that. So I like to kind of blend all the blend just based on the people that I've known in my past and in my life, find ways to kind of implement them into my writing.
That's creative because you also, in a sense, you immortalize these people. You
Yes,
know, good, bad, everything in between. Their essence is up there on the screen forever.
absolutely,
Now, I like that.
absolutely, absolutely, man. It's quite fascinating, man. It's something I'm very passionate about as far as creating that when it comes to someone or trying to find out ways or how can I take this person's personality, create a character out of them and put them in the film. Like I really like that part of
I like that. I have to think about that because I have a couple ideas for some projects that are outside the podcast that still like in the same area that I'm in, but
Absolutely.
those are still in the planning stages. I got like it's a kind of a big project. I can tell you about that another time.
Yes, sir.
But now, now your work includes both live action and the animated horror projects.
Yes, sir.
Is there a different creative process between these two mediums, or is it, I mean, obviously, one, you're live action, you're working with people as opposed to the animated, but is there a different creative process
Yes, sir.
between?
Absolutely. In my opinion, doing short films and feature films are a lot easier for me than doing the animation films because with animation, you have a character, you have this idea in your head, and then, all right, you're like, okay, yeah, I got it. Then the hard part begins, and that's finding someone to cast to do this role. In your head, it's like, oh man. So you auditioning, you like, hey, read this line, send it to me. Let me hear what you got. And that person may not fit, this particular character. For instance, I had this Caucasian guy was a really, really great actor, man, really great voice actor, and he auditioned for one of the roles in Evil Lurks and Evil Ways, but the role was for for African American kid, and he sounded perfect, man. He nailed it. He freaking did great. And I was like, man, it's just certain words and certain lingos you got to kind of you got to kind of
Yeah.
have it. You got to kind of have it. If that's
Yeah,
kind of making
it's
sense.
the cultural element
Yeah, yeah,
that can add to it.
yeah,
You
man.
know, you
We
can feel the history. You can
yeah,
feel the way they say it is kind of like they say it that way because they lived it. You
exactly,
know,
man, exactly. So we couldn't work together on this particular project, but we do have something that is coming in the future that he is in because he's so talented.
right?
But yeah, man, and then when I do shorts or feature films and shows, it's a lot easier because it's like, okay, you can hear someone in person, you can actually see them, and you can say, okay, yeah, this person right here, he has the look, he has the everything what I'm looking for, what I envision that I could put for this role.
Right, right. Now let's delve into, because we're all about the paranormal,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
on this
absolutely,
channel. So let's
love
delve
it.
into that a little bit, which is what I like, because you're not just creating horror films. You know, you're there. You're in the investigations. Your series on your channel, Atlanta's Most Haunted Locations. It involves on-site paranormal investigations. Now, how do you prepare for these? And has any particular experience profoundly impacted you?
Yes, absolutely. This is something that I developed from my passion for this. I love investigations. I'm still am a huge fan of Ghost Adventures. Been watching it since the beginning, season one,
Yeah,
and I never would have thought that I would actually be doing this. I've been watching this show for years, and I would say, man, I would never do that. Then it went from never doing that to, hey, man, that kind of looks kind of interesting. Then it went from I'm going to do this. So yeah, man, I've had some very interesting experiences. One in particular was in Savannah, Georgia. I did an episode down there in Savannah, and Savannah, if you don't know the
that's
paranormal
like
history
ground
of Savannah,
zero.
it's yeah, it's the New
Yeah.
York City of the paranormal world. So
Yep.
yeah, I went down there, and immediately, as soon as I walked into this one particular area, I literally saw a figure to my left. My body, you could just, it's weird. It's a weird feeling. Sometimes it's indescribable, but you can almost feel the presence amongst you. So when she's giving me the history, the cameras are rolling, and I keep looking off to the left, and you could catch it in some parts of the show. Me keep looking, and then I was like, okay, let's do a paranormal. Let's do a reading. Let's see if if someone. Let's ask if someone's in this area within our presence, and we did it, and we got several responses. It was a very, very strong area. It's a very strong area, but Lake Lanier was also very powerful. Lake Lanier here in Atlanta is a notorious haunted area for so many people that have died on this lake, and that was another one that was very intense. But as far as preparation, man, I have things that I do. I always, say me a quick prayer or whatnot before I go, and then
Yeah.
whenever I leave, I always say, you're not allowed to follow me. You're not allowed to attach yourself to me. I hope that you rest in peace, and I hope that you remain. I want you to remain here. You are not allowed to follow me wherever I go. So I do
Good.
that every time. It's just different things that I do, to make sure I'm prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually whenever I do these investigations.
Yeah, that's good, because that was going to be my next question. If you take any steps to protect yourself, because the
Yes.
many people I've interviewed on the podcast, it's like one of my recurring questions. Like, you go into these places, and I'm always surprised when someone says, "No, not really. I just kind of like maybe dust my feet off when I leave or something." But I mean, for me, with some experiences I've had, yeah, and it's one of the things they tell you. I mean, it everyone has their own religious beliefs, or they may not
Correct.
have any beliefs. Either way is fine, as long as you maintain to be a positive person. But
Correct.
yeah, the people I've talked to that have worked with exorcists, worked with the
Yes.
Warrens,
Oh
uh,
wow.
they've all, yeah. One of my early interviews was with Ralph Sarchi. Have you ever seen that movie Deliver Us from Evil with Eric Bana? He's a New York City cop.
Yes, I have.
So Ralph Sarchi, that was based on Ralph Sarchi,
Oh
and
wow.
he was one of the first people I interviewed for my podcast.
Oh, that's
Re-
awesome, man.
Really nice guy, typical New Yorker, just like, yeah, guy or whatever. Really funny. And his book, you got to pick up his book. I think it's called Fear of the Night or Weird the Night.
For the
I'll send
night.
you an example of it, but he just talks about how he was a New York cop, and then he met the Warrens, and he assisted with Warrens, helped them in their cases, and he assisted in all these exorcisms. And even now, I mean, he says he's retired from all that now. You know, he'll
Hmm.
be an advisor here and there on something, but even when he was back in the day doing it, I mean, he's a devout Catholic, so they go through all these steps before they even get near the exorcism, and then all these steps afterwards. So,
Yes.
for me, it's just like you can't see what's there, so you have
Yes,
to
that's
do
true.
what you can to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
Now, so getting back to the filmmaking, collaborations are integral. You know, obviously you can't make a movie without several collaborations.
Correct.
Is there a particular partnership that significantly impacted you on one of your projects from the past, or that you continue to work with?
Yes. One of the big collabs I got as far as What's Up There, he was in my What's Up There film. Actually starred in it was he's a big content creator. His name is Mr. Organic. He has a strong social media presence. He's never done any acting before or whatnot. But, I presented him with the idea. We talked about it. And after some logistics were worked out, I sent him the script and he was like, "Oh yeah, I can nail this. I can nail it." And then when he sent me everything back, I was just blown away. I was like, "Man, this is really good stuff, man." But fast forward after everything's done, man, having him collab with me on this project has opened up so many more doors for me. I was just in Miami doing a podcast in Miami, episode down there. I'm continuing to network with more and more people. So it's just been a blessing to have people take a chance on me and believe in, the different projects and different ideas that I have, because I'm a bit of a scatterbrain. I could be here 1 second, I'm here, I'm here. So that's just how my brain works sometimes. But
Actually,
that was actually pretty good to have him team up with me on that.
wow, that's great. Yeah, because the people that we meet and that like either help us out or they're a mentor, it's like you carry their teachings with you.
Absolutely.
Even in my work that I've done, the early days of like working corrections or working security, I had some old schoolers like instill in me some rules like that I still carry to this day.
Absolutely.
That I've used in other fields, I've used in other work that I do, just because they're like, no, you have to do it this way, cover yourself this way. I'm like, okay. So it's like you carry them with you, and you pass on their teachings to the next generation. You know,
Absolutely.
and it's spreading the knowledge, and it's looking out for each other, and it's making an impact.
Absolutely.
People have told me, "Oh, thank you for this." Well, it's like, actually, I owe it to this guy. That's why I'm helping, because this guy helped me. So if you should be thanking anybody, thank this guy, because he's the one that got me on the right path.
Absolutely.
Um,
I like that.
and
That's awesome.
it was funny when you said right now, because I noticed it in your biography, but you said, "Yeah, I'm a little scatterbrained here, dude. You're a Gemini, okay? Okay."
Yep,
It said
there's
you
the
were born in June. What's
correct.
your birthday? What
June
day were you?
June 1st.
June 1st. Okay, I'm the 13th.
Oh wow. So we're very
Yes,
similar in that way too.
yeah. My and both of my grandparents on my mom's side, they were both Geminis, and we didn't figure it out until like 10 years ago. My mom said something about when her dad was born, because my mom always teases me about being a Gemini because I'm like our impatience.
Yeah.
I know I'm annoying my mother when she calls me Gemini person.
Yeah.
She's like, I know, okay, Gemini person. I'm like, okay, that's her cue for me to slow down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah, it drives my
yeah,
wife crazy. I could be completely on the sunny side one day, and then the next second I'll be completely on the dark side. Then I can be completely silly. So I'm just all over the place, man. But I truly believe, hey, it's just the Gemini in me. Forgive me.
yeah, and I mean, we'd like to slow down, but it's like it gets boring fast,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That kills
you
me.
know,
Yeah, yeah, that
you
kills
know,
me.
and I mean, I've noticed this for myself. People ask, well, you get down, you get stuff bothers you, and you get down about things like anybody else would. And I said, yeah, but after a while, that actually becomes boring to me.
Correct.
And Geminis don't like being bored, so that snaps me out of it, and I'm not bummed out about whatever was bumming me out. So
Correct.
that
Correct.
it works for me.
Yeah, I'm
So
with you. I'm with you on that one, brother. I'm with you.
so have you ever had a time where you had to adapt your original vision for a project due to some unforeseen circumstances? Like you're already like involved in it, you're on the path and then something comes up and you had to adapt? Has that happened
Oh
with your
yeah.
work before?
Oh man, it seems like that happens every project I do. Something, the I don't stop and breathe until a project is completely done. As far as the shoot, everything, the editing, everything is done. Um, one of the last big ordeals I had was it was an issue with an animation company, and I thought they were on board with everything, and we talked a specific number and things of that nature. We was getting characters designed and things like that, and then they came back at me with some astronomical number, and it was just like a total miscommunication type of deal. And it was just, oh my God, it was horrible, man. So I was like, I'm going to scrap this whole project. Or I'm going to push it back. The timeline's going to be screwed up. I had this in plan. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then it's like, all right, take a second. Just go to bed. Stop thinking. Go to sleep. Wake up in the morning with a fresh mindset. And, we'll go to plan B. And everything always seems to work out the way, long as I don't freak out. I've had audio go out in when I was doing paranormal investigations, where I was, filming shows, and then you get back and you watching the shoots and everything, the clips, and it's like, oh, there's no audio on this. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And then you just gotta not freak out so much and just be like, okay, take a step back, relax, get away from the computer for a second. Let me go reset my mindset. So when I come back and look at everything, I can come up with a clear plan to come up with a solution to fix whatever issue that may present itself. And I've gotten better with that the older I seem to get it, because I used to freak completely out, man, when something didn't go my way.
That must be a Gemini thing, because I kind of do something similar when, especially with this channel, either location didn't work out or it's not what it was cracked up to be, and I got to be creative about it. And then I get frustrated, man. And then I have to walk away from it, watch a movie or something, go mind up, and then So I get
then you get a reset of the mind. It's like, okay, I'm good now. All right, let me get this thing figured out.
Right. So now, what role would you say your personal background and culture play in the shaping of the narratives you choose to tell?
Well, I am right now, at this point in my life, I'm a martial artist. I am a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner. So I live a very disciplined lifestyle. I've competed in jiu-jitsu tournaments, around the country. It's that form of discipline that I've had in this art, on top of I've done freaking bodybuilding shows. I was always drawn to discipline. That's something my father, like, just beat it in my head as a kid. I believe that living a disciplined lifestyle will help open up so many doors for you if you have a passion for something. So with me having my disciplined lifestyle and me being passionate about film, in particular horror films and horror projects all together, it's truly opened up the doors for me. And I feel like blending those two with the discipline, my martial arts background, because I still train to this day, on top of, my passion for writing and filmmaking, I feel like when I blend the two, I put them all in the blender together and I push that button, I feel like I get some just remarkable, content or projects as far as the end result.
I can see that. That's interesting. So it ultimately just comes down to discipline.
Yes,
and everything
sir.
grows from there.
Yes, sir. It's the ultimate foundation in my life for everything. Being disciplined, man. Focus, because when I'm disciplined, I'm focused. When I'm focused, I'm disciplined. And it's just, that's something I just always, it just drives me insane to make sure that I've lived that lifestyle. I breathe it I put it in my kids' head. Both my kids are wrestlers, and it's a very demanding sport where you have to be disciplined in. And always tell them, man, stay disciplined on everything that you do. And win or lose, as long as you give it your all, man, you're going to feel good about yourself, because you know that you laid it all on the line.
So it's like you've found an outlet or a way to hone your impatience.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yes. Shout out to Team Independent, man. We go in there, we beat each other up every week. So it's always good to go in there. I could take an hour and a half, 2 hours of my day to go in there and do something physically demanding and physically challenging. Beat some folks up. I may get beat up, whatever the case may be. But we're doing it all out of love and protecting each other. And when you leave there, it's just like, man, I'm ready to go right now. I'm gonna go get me a shower, get some coffee, and I'm ready to create now. And that's where
I
it all
like
kind
it.
of stems from.
Yeah, because when I was a lot younger, I practiced American Kempo,
Oh, that's
and
really good. Yeah, Kimpo.
Ed
Yeah,
Parker's Kempo. Yeah, it's a beautiful art form and
absolutely, it is.
highly technical. But I was like younger and dumber, and I was like kind of a teenager. But it was a good outlet for me because I would go into their sparring classes like 3 or 4 nights a week until one of the assistant instructors was a buddy of mine. He's like, Eric, he goes, your technical classes where you're learning techniques are here. Your sparring classes are up here. We need to balance them out, you know.
Yeah,
But I was like 18 years old, getting knocked in the head like 3 or 4 nights a week. I was having a blast, you know.
yeah,
These
man.
days, I'm a little slower. I don't heal as fast, so I'm like, I'm gonna pump the brakes.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
So I think we touched on this a little bit, but this was something I wanted to bring up also, just because I'm a fan of this particular subgenre personally. So 1970s introduced blaxploitation horror films like Blacula,
Yeah,
Scream, Blacula, Scream, which actually is my favorite. It's one of Scream, Blacula, Scream is in that rare category of films where the sequel is actually better than the original.
yeah,
And that's just my humble opinion.
yeah, I agree
So,
with you.
so, and these blended horror elements with Black cultural themes. Have these films influenced your storytelling, and do you see parallels between that era and today's Black horror renaissance?
Yes, sir. Actually, that really has, man. I remember being at my auntie's house, Aunt Jeannie down in South Georgia, and they were have some of these films playing back in the day, man, and it was real. It was real motivational because not to get too deep into this, but we don't see many. I don't feel that we see many African American horror films. I mean, we have them out there, but you just don't see many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know what I mean, African American. We don't see like a Tyler Perry doing a huge horror film or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, or Antoine Fuqua, and many powerful directors that are directors of color doing films like these. And I feel that, and it motivates me to be. I want to be in that Mount Rushmore of black future black directors that were pioneers of the horror genre. Like we know John Carpenter, freaking Wes Craven. We have these guys,
Mm-hmm.
but how many off the top of your head can you say that are African American that were horror directors that were just, on point, had good projects? I don't feel
Right.
like we have many of that. And I've had this dream twice. I said this to a friend of mine not too long ago. Had this dream twice. I had a dream that Tyler Perry is going to have me direct a horror film for him. Write and create, and he may direct, even if he directs it and I write it, whatever the case may be. I have a feeling that I'm going to, end up doing a project with him because I'm going to have the opportunity to present to him and tell him like, hey man, this is a huge genre. The horror genre is huge. You go to these horror conventions, man, it's a lot of people that are very passionate about this genre, man.
Yeah.
And I feel like, hey, we need more of us in the world, more of us to kind of put our thoughts and our creativity in this genre. Because I mean, you go to South Georgia, man. You may have the voodoo lady. We had an old voodoo lady down in South Georgia. She was the old black lady. We had the monkey man. We know different people. We had that was kind of creepy. It's like, man, I could write a story about this guy. He's kind of creepy.
Yeah, because that was going to be actually another question I had later on, of if you had any ideas for a film that come from your culture that maybe the overall general audience aren't familiar with. Like up until maybe the last 20-something plus years, a lot of the general audience weren't familiar. Like because for Mexicans, for Latins, it's La Llorona, the weeping woman.
Yeah.
And then in the last 20 plus years, you see more films being made, some low budget, some big budget, and elements of that legend. I mean, are there urban legends within your culture that like maybe not everybody is aware of, but you would love to make a film about?
Yes, it is actually. Growing up, and I always reference where I grew up at, man. There was a guy. There was a man. I'm not gonna say a guy. We're giving him that respect. but he was a mortician, and he was it was something about him. He was, he's a mortician, of course, but he was a very nice man. But he was a really imposing man, dark skinned, never smiled, never really. It was just nothing. He was just a straightforward guy, clean shaved, always had a nice top hat on, always wearing dark colors. And when I was a kid, for some reason, he would always freak me out. It was something about him. And the older I got, I was like, man, that would be that's a movie itself. Have like a creepy mortician guy. We seen something kind of similar to it with Tony Todd and the what's the name? Final Destination films. Yeah, we seen that. Yeah. But this guy right here, I was like, man, this guy. I grew up seeing this before Tony Todd was this character in this film.
And shout out to Tony Todd. Rest in peace.
Oh yeah, rest in peace, man.
I mean, the guy was in everything.
Yes.
It's like Star Trek, man. The guy was crazy in Star Trek. I mean, I was very sad when I heard about his passing.
Absolutely, man. Like, absolutely.
Not Candyman.
Yeah. He's actually, in my mind right now, he's one of the only black slashers that slashers of color that I could think of right off the top of my head. And with Candyman, he actually did a really good job in these films. It's one of my it's in my top 5 horror films of all time.
Yeah,
I mean,
because my nephew had never seen it. This was a few years back. He had never seen the movie, and I was telling him about it, and I was like, well, he's kind of like, for lack of a better description. And then I thought, that's not even a good description. But I told him, well, think of him like an African-American Freddy Krueger. But then Candyman was so much more than that. Okay?
Yeah, he was.
I mean, it's that gravelly voice that brought the sense of dread. And he was never in a rush. He was never in a hurry.
It's like a ghost.
He was just there, and you're screwed.
Remember the iconic scene when him and Karen in the parking deck, when he's calling her name, she's walking to her car, and he starts calling. And when he starts walking towards you don't even hear footsteps. It's just like he's walking, but you don't hear footsteps. And I was like, well, that's like the ghost kind of spirit, what he was, right there. It's not like some movies you hear the footsteps and stuff banging and clanking towards you, but you didn't hear that with him. And it's like little details they put in that film, which made that film so amazing.
Did you see the reboot?
Yes, I did. What Jordan Peele? My honest opinion, it shot beautifully. I wasn't, a fan of it, to say the least. I feel like, man, you can't do it. I mean, he appeared in the end, but like, hey, man, you can't do a Candyman movie without Tony Todd like coming in here ripping people's intestines out. You know what I mean? It has to.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't horrible. They didn't try to completely rip off the original, which I appreciated. Yeah. But I was still like, Yeah. I walked out. I went in the movies and saw it. And I was just I do like the tie-in they did with the original. They tied it with the original when they can do that and not take away from the mythos.
Yes.
That I can appreciate.
Yes.
But yeah, Candyman, I mean, that's just a classic. You can't touch the original. It's like I could watch that 10 times.
Oh my God, man. You can say that again. Yeah. We're talking about it. I may watch it tonight.
Yeah, and those original films from the 1970s, it's like this is gonna sound funny. I hope it doesn't come out the wrong way, but my nephew, the same one I told you about.
Yeah.
Okay. My nephew is like, forgive me if this comes out the wrong way.
No, you're good.
He is like the whitest white boy you're ever gonna meet. Okay, like, all right, the walls behind you look like they have a bronze tan compared to my nephew. Okay.
Yeah.
But he loves those old 1970s movies. Like Blacula, and he and I would sit and watch Blacula, Scream, Scream. What are a couple of the others? Blackenstein.
Yeah, Blackenstein.
Is it Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde?
I believe so. That man, man, you went way back on that one. I haven't seen that one since I was a kid. Yeah. Good God. Yeah.
And interesting note I'm sorry, you get me started on movie trivia.
No, I like it, man. No, I'm with it, man.
There's another movie. Language. Have you ever seen Gargoyles with Cornel Wilde? He's an archaeologist, and he and his daughter find or get wrapped up with these gargoyles in the Arizona desert. This old man at the beginning of the show says, "Hey, I have a skeleton. You're a famous archaeologist, cult expert. I have the skeleton I want to show you." and he shows him a skeleton of this gargoyle with wings. And at first he's like, I don't believe this is fake, whatever. He's like, okay. So he agrees to talk to him, and then they get attacked by these gargoyles.
Interesting.
And what's interesting, a lot of things unique about this movie, Stan Winston did the special effects. This is one of his earliest works, and it was a TV movie with Cornell Wilde called Gargoyles. Stan Winston did the effects, and the movie holds up even to this day. It's got that 70s cheesiness, but it's got a good pace. So here's the tie-in. Bernie Casey, who was starred in Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde as the lead character, he is the lead gargoyle.
Really?
But you can't tell because he's
all made up.
Makeup, horns and green makeup and everything else.
Man, I'm gonna check this out, man.
Yeah, but yeah, all those movies. I mean, I can sit and watch them. You know, Black Belt Jones with Jim Kelly, Cleopatra Jones. Just all those. I can sit.
It was truly the 70s was truly an amazing era for filmmaking altogether. You know, in my opinion, man, you know, not just horror, but I mean, there were so many good films that came out back in that era. But that's to say, you know, the nitpick again, the writing, I think back then was so much tighter and on point, and the creativity was to another level compared to, you know what I mean, what we may be seeing nowadays. Yeah.
I mean, so many films are just like, it's all one jump scare after another, and it's just predictable. It's like,
it's stupid, and it drives me absolutely insane. That's why I was so thankful for Long Legs. I really like the direction Smile 2, the Smile movies. I like what they were doing. Those yet. Oh man, I think you will really enjoy it, man. I think you really enjoy it. I'm really picky, but I think they were really, really good films. And of course, I think the Terrifier films are pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's very gory, but I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm very picky about the newer horror films that I go to see. I'm very, very picky about them because, like, what I grew up with. I grew up Exorcist and Witchboard and, you know, all these films from the 80s. Yeah, they're classics. So, and then what makes me feel really old is I see these movies that I went to the theater as a teenager to see being rebooted. I'm like, well, I'm not old now. But yeah,
we're gonna see a Blacula reboot soon.
You know, they made a comic book. Yeah, you know, they made a comic book out of it, right?
Really?
Yeah. I think the actor, either the writer or the director, one of the people that's attached to the original Blacula movie is part of the Blacula comic book. I think they did I think they crowdfunded it, and
really,
it's been out for like maybe a year or two now. And it's like one issue.
I'm going to find these.
It's one issue. Yeah, it's one issue, and it's a hardback. So, and you'll see the guy he's interviewed. He pops up on my social media. My social media is all over the place. Paranormal topics and cheesy 70s movies. So it's like the one behind me. And so, but he pops up on my Instagram every once in a while talking about the Blacula comic book, and they're going to do another one of one of those films. I forgot which one, but they're making a comic book of another one of those films we just talked about.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, so I think they're all crowdfunded, but it's like, this is worthy of it, okay? Because I've been a comic book nerd since I was 4 years old. So,
oh, that's awesome. Are you a fan of Spawn?
I could never really get into Spawn.
Could never get into it. Okay.
I thought he was a little, personally, I thought he was overrated. Okay.
Yeah, we're 100%. Yeah.
Two of my favorites, as long as we're talking African American superheroes, because, you know, and I've had this conversation with him before, you know, with African American superheroes, especially back in the 70s and 80s, it was hit or miss. And it was unfortunately usually miss.
Yeah.
And once in a while you get a Luke Cage. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, I still have comic books that I had when I was 10 years old of Luke Cage.
Oh, that's awesome.
But you know, the one I'm waiting for to be made into a movie or TV show is Brother Voodoo.
Brother Voodoo.
Are you familiar with Brother Voodoo?
I've heard of him. Yes, I have not read any of the comics, but that would be freaking awesome, though.
He has one of the most original, unique origin stories of almost any comic book character, because it's twin brothers from Haiti. One grew up in the whole voodoo lifestyle. The other left Haiti to go to school to become a doctor. He comes back and his brother is not feeling well. He's like, look, I need you to take over and be the voodoo practitioner. And the brother, who's a doctor, he's like, look, this is fine. We were kids. The stuff isn't real. Long story short, the brother is killed, and he takes on the mantle of Brother Voodoo, and he realizes that because he's the Doctor Strange of voodoo practitioners.
Oh,
right?
this is so fascinating.
This is a 1970s comic book, right?
Oh,
And all this is like, yeah, it's such a great story. So
Oh,
he
my
takes
goodness.
over, and he's got all these unique powers that are tied in, obviously, with voodoo. But he has the best entrance of any comic book character, because they'll show it in different issues. Like if somebody's in trouble, and these bad guys are about to hurt somebody, all of a sudden this really thick fog comes in out of nowhere, and then they draw the words, but you hear these voodoo drums going really like, they're like, what the hell is that? Can't
What is
see
this?
Here's the fog. We're hearing these fast voodoo drums, and then out of the fog walks Brother Voodoo.
Oh, that is freaking awesome.
And on top of all his powers, the spirit of his dead brother helps him out. So if he's in a fight and he's outnumbered, the spirit of his dead brother possesses one of the bad guys and helps him in the fight.
Oh, that's freaking awesome. Oh,
Okay.
This is so fascinating, man.
Yeah. Look up Brother Voodoo from the 70s.
I wrote it down in my notes. Man. I have it. I'm about to definitely get some comics on those.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't familiar with him, but I'm like, no, this guy is a story. This is such, and the paranormal has exploded in the last 10 years of TV shows and movies. It's like, Marvel needs to hurry up and make this and forget about the other crap they've been putting out the last 5 years.
All this oversaturated crap they keep putting out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the last Spider-Man movie was the last good thing they had, honestly, in mind.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a big DC fan too, so I'm a DC guy anyway. But yeah, Marvel has just they've been taking quite the hit lately.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the films they've been putting out,
like new Captain America, Brave New World. I mean,
$250 million hit they took on it so far.
Oh, really? Yeah. I heard it wasn't doing that well, but I was like, the story just didn't grab me. It had the potential to be like a really good political thriller. Like Winter Soldier was. And the thing is, I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier, the TV show. Some people panned it, but I actually liked it. I'm like, I want to see more of this story. If they had brought more of that along, I think it would have done better. But I just, and the Red Hulk, just not really interesting for me. And they try to
give me back the Green Hulk. Let me see Hulk smash some stuff up.
They're doing CPR on the Eternals. That movie was a turkey. Come on, I'm like, wow, So, but enough of my movie critiques. Like I said,
I like it, man. No, I love
it.
Here
all day with it.
I love to hear it.
So let's get back to the indie community and horror community at large.
Yes,
so, sir. As someone as deeply involved with the horror community as you are there any trends or emerging voices in the genre that excite you right now?
Yes. Right now, I really like what Robert Eggers is doing, man. I've became a huge fan. I've always thought he made amazing films since I watched him since I watched his film, The Witch. I thought it was absolutely fascinating stuff, man. But
everybody's been telling me to watch that movie. I have not.
Oh, man, it is freaking amazing.
That's where
I became a fan of his.
Or something.
I'm sorry.
It's like a family in the woods or something.
Yeah.
Kind of like
one of those folk. Yeah. Like it is an absolutely amazing film. But I love what he's doing. I love what he did with Nosferatu, and I love that he's coming back to do the werewolf, the Wolfman. I think it's werewolf film he's writing or whatnot. But I like the direction as far as the trend with A24 Studios. They seem to be pretty consistent with putting out good horror films. And Neon Studios. Neon Studios has absolutely been killing it so far. They've been killing the film festivals, and now to see what they started from and to see what they're doing now, especially with Long Legs and this most recent film they have. I'm actually going to see it this weekend, but they have been killing it, and I'm such a fan of seeing something different. And it looks like we're starting to get back to the different. Nothing against Blumhouse, but Blumhouse has became kind of, some of their films that became kind of like commercial. I guess that's the best way of saying it. And I think that's bad for horror, in my opinion.
Yeah, there was a movie actually that just came out. I cannot think of the name of it. It came out. It's a brand new movie. I watched it on Amazon, and as soon as the movie was over, while the credits were still rolling, I ordered it on Blu-ray. I mean, that's how much it's it has to do with like Voodoo. This guy, he's a professional, and he has to go back. He flies his family back in a small plane, and he flies them back to the Appalachian Mountains to settle his father's estate. And then they get stuck there, and they get wrapped up with this woman. I can't think of her name, but the main actor was in Power. He was like one of the main actors. He was like the guy who starred in Power. I can't think of his name, but he plays the guy who doesn't want anything to do with his father and the whole hoodoo stuff. And the actress, she's like a motherly type. She's probably like close to 60. She's terrifying in this movie because she's a hoodoo priestess. And half the guys walking around her farm are like zombies. But they did so much research. Give me 1 second. I'm going to look this up.
This sounds completely fascinating. I want to check this out. And you said it's on Amazon?
It's either Amazon or Netflix. Let me see what this got. All I know is the guy. Let me see. What's this? Okay. Let's see. I think his name is Omari Spell. Okay, that's it.
Spell.
You know what? Omari Hardwick.
I think I've seen that. Is it like the ending? Well, I don't know if we're going to spoil it. Isn't like the ending like he was in like a room tied up to a? Is it the one he's tied up to like a chair or something? Yeah, I seen it a while ago. Yeah. That actually is a great film. Yeah, I
was so impressed with it because I think it was made in 2020, but it wasn't released until maybe 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah,
and I saw the commercials for it, and anything that sticks with like folklore and voodoo, and they do the research. I'm all in on those kind of movies,
Yeah.
Whether it's exorcism, Santeria, whatever it is they've done the research and they bring it to life like that. I'm sitting there with a bucket of popcorn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this movie looks cool.
Yeah.
I watched it, and literally the credits are rolling. I'm like, Amazon Blu-ray right now.
You sound like me.
Phone to friends of mine, like, you got to watch this movie. It's and the woman in it is terrifying.
She killed it. Yeah. I got to watch that again, man. I remember seeing it about a year or so ago because I go down my kicks where I just put on a random horror movie. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. And I watch it. So, yeah, it's actually a good film.
Great. So, we get on so many tangents here.
Yeah,
but,
no.
I got a good vibe with you, man. You got a good heart. I got a really positive vibe with you.
Oh, thank you, man. Likewise. Likewise.
Yeah. I think we could probably do something later on where like we're doing something like a movie review or something. Or sharing.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, because you get me started talking about movies, this and that. Yeah, and I'm trying to interview you, and I'm going on all these tangents.
No, man, that's what I like, man. I like conversations, dude. I absolutely love it, man.
So, okay, and I got a couple more here, and then we can wrap it up because I know you got your schedule is crazy. I mean, I want you to sleep.
Oh man, sleep whenever I can. I just pass out random places, kitchens, bathrooms, living rooms, wherever.
It's like. You're making these films, and you're a husband and father. It's like I don't know if you could time of the day.
Yeah, martial artist. I train every day. Yeah, it's rough, man.
Wow,
but hey,
I'm tired just hearing it. Wow, I'm already worn out. Okay, so I got a few more here. So with the rise of digital platforms, how do you see the landscape of independent horror filmmaking evolving, and how do you adapt to these changes?
But I feel pretty positive about them. I have a love-hate relationship with it, I guess, to say for the better. I would see what the future will what will happen in the future as far as how that's going to go. I have a really strong team behind me also, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this will help guys like me or whatnot, guys that are independent filmmakers, and help what we have going on. Will we get overlooked in the future? Will this truly benefit us? Will it not benefit us? But I do have somewhat of a positive feeling for it or whatnot, to say the least.
So you're kind of rolling with it.
Yeah, kind of rolling with the punches, see what happens. It's funny, me and my cousin had an interesting conversation about this same topic right here when I was in Seattle visiting them. So, but we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean it's part of the industry, so there's no way in escaping it. You want to get your work out there and eyes on it. It's like you kind of got to roll the numbers with everybody else.
Yeah, 100%.
So for aspiring filmmakers inspired by your path, What advice would you offer about navigating these challenges and opportunities, specifically in the horror genre?
I would I would say, this is me giving trying to think, give a really good answer for this. Um, stay hungry. Keep I believe if you're going to do something like this in the horror genre, keep it as authentic as you can. Don't try to be uh don't try to be like the new Blumhouse movies or things like that. Try to find your own path. Try to find your own path of creativity and stick to your guns. You may get some people that like it, you may get some people that don't like it. But stick to what your passion for horror truly is. Whether it may be zombie films, whether it may be vampire films, whatever the case may be. Stick to what you're truly passionate about. Write and perfect your writing. Tighten up on your writing. So whenever you get your break or you get your opportunity, you'll be prepared for whatever opportunity may present itself. So my best
Okay.
advice, man, keep writing, keep perfecting your craft. Don't try to follow the trends too much. I don't really like following trends. That's something I'm not really a fan of.
Mhm.
I like to kind of be my own person. I turned down a deal not too long ago because I just felt like, hey, this I don't want to go to specifics, but I felt like it wasn't me. I want
Mhm.
to always have anything I do. I want to have my vision and my touch and be able to put my passion into it. Because at the end of the day, it's our name that we're attaching to it.
Right. So your advice would be to stick to the fundamentals.
Yes.
So when you make it, you're not considered the next Bloomhouse. You're
Yeah.
considered the first you.
Yeah, you've considered the first you, kind of like what Robert Eggers did. Oswald Good with Neon Studios. These new, fresh faces that we're getting in horror now. You know what I mean? They're doing this by being themselves. They may have been influenced. Robert Eggers is influenced by the old horror films, and he took that influence and kind of added his own touch to it. For hence the Witch. The Witch is a
Mhm.
really powerful, great film. He wasn't ready to shoot Nosferatu when he had the script written years ago for it, but he knew that he needed some touching up on his craft before he was able to actually dive deep into this iconic horror figure. So he did The Witch, which kind of
Oh,
catapulted him to that next level.
so the director of Nosferatu is the guy that directed The Witch.
Correct.
I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Robert Eggers. Yeah.
Now I got to check both of these out. Okay.
Yeah. Watch The Witch first. You're gonna message me and say, "Hey, Slap, this is actually a really, really great film."
Yeah, I've been slacking. I know. I really have been. So a couple more questions and we'll wrap up. So, but looking ahead, are there any particular horror genre? Excuse me. Are there any specific horror genres or subgenres or themes you haven't explored yet, but you're eager to tackle on a future project?
Yes, actually, I am. I am. I am a fan, and hopefully, this answers the question. I've always been a vampire fan. Always been a vampire fan, and I have this. Actually, I have a short already written for it, but I have this idea for doing my own vampire film. And everything I like to do, as far as film wise, I like to try to implement more urban characters or whatnot like that. Hispanics. My wife's Puerto Rican, and so I like to kind of have these, different cultures within my projects and whatnot, and kind of blend them together. But I really am a fan of vampire films and just the character, the Dracula character altogether. So I would really like to tackle a nice Dracula type film, kind of modern dayish or
Okay.
whatnot. Not so much from the back in the day. You know what I mean? But I would like to really tackle something like this to help open up more eyes to exactly who Dracula is. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, they may not know the history of Dracula and things like that. So kind of like Blacula 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been talking so much about that. I'm gonna have to rewatch that now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same thing I'm thinking, man.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, all right. So let's wrap up. Are there any new projects coming up you want to share? We
Oh,
can expect coming up for real soon, or
yeah.
anything
Yeah,
inquiring
absolutely,
minds
man.
want to know.
Yeah, man. Actually, I have my next episode of Atlanta's Most Haunted Locations. This next episode was shot at the Sylvester Cemetery in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a very, very powerful experience. I have comedian Detroit Reed I've really funny up and coming comedian out of Atlanta, huge following. I have Tone the Goat. He's a rapper out of Atlanta. So I took the rapper, the comedian, and the ghost hunter / film director and blended us all. I've been saying that word this whole interview, blended. I like to put all these things in one blender and blend it. And I put us all together and I brought them into my world of horror. And you're going to see exactly how I freaked them out during this adventure. But I have that. What's Up There just released last weekend. It is doing amazing. I've been getting so many text messages and emails about this film. Thank you guys. Thank you to all the supporters who've been showing love for this film.
Well, you know what? To show my support, if you're watching this on YouTube, I will provide links to both Evil Lurks,
Evil Lurks and Evil Ways.
Lurks and Evil Ways, and I will provide a link to What's Up There in the video description below, so you can watch them both. Get some popcorn, grab a soda, and just
enjoy them both.
I'll watch What's Up There tonight, and like I said, Evil Lurks and Evil Ways, that I really enjoyed everything.
Thank you, thank you so much.
The pacing, the characters, the story, everything, like it reels you in. You're doing amazing work. I'm just looking forward to more from you, and expansion, and the vampire angle. That's amazing.
Absolutely. You guys be ready. Last thing, you guys be ready. Also, Fearless is coming this year. Also, probably going to release it this Halloween. So be ready for my short film Fearless that will be coming, and you guys are really going to enjoy this. Honora is coming.
Okay. You heard it here first. Honora is coming. Awesome.
That's right.
Well, Slap, this has been a blast. You're a real good guy to talk to. You got a good energy about you.
Thank you, Mr. Eric. I appreciate it, man.
I lost track of time here. I'm like, ooh, we need to wrap this up.
Oh man, I wasn't even paying attention to the time, man. I just been vibing, man. You're talking my language, brother.
All right, and thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a blast.
Yes,
Those
sir.
of you interested in following Slap, all of his information, his social media, his website, his 2 most recent films, they're all going to be below in the video description. Slap, it's been an honor, man. We got to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
And we got to do a movie review debate show, something.
Absolutely.
Like that. I can see that in the picture.
Oh man, it's coming, man. I'm gonna send you my personal number, man, so you can just text me anything you want to do, man. We'll knock it out.
I appreciate it. And check out Spell. Yeah, rewatch Spell and and Gargoyles and the Blacula comic book. Okay.
Yep. Devil's Reign.
Yeah.
Devil's Reign.
Devil's Reign. Yeah. You may want to say a prayer before and after that one. Okay.
Hey, I keep that in mind, brother.
All right. Thanks, sir. And thank you for tuning in. This has been Beyond the Compass, where travelers and the paranormal meet at the crossroads. Have an amazing day. Hey, man, that went well.
Yeah, that was great,
fun.
man. That was great.
Was fun.
Hey, you got a pen by you?